Hey folks, Ray, Rainmaker.com here, and to get your full review of the Elite Sterzo. Now this is something that Elite actually announced last summer at Eurobike 2019, so the end of August or so, but we're finally seeing it start to ship here in the next couple weeks. So right now, actually already it's starting to make its way out to stores, and at the time they announced two different versions. Then unnamed though, they had announced this one, which is the base one that has no electronics in it, and they announced an identical looking one that does have electronics in it that sends your steering data to applications like Zwift or whatever apps out there end up supporting it. Now at the time, no apps supported it, so that they didn't really start shipping it. And even that's still the case today. There's no apps out there, so they're not yet shipping that other version that has the smarts inside of it. So this review is just about the dumb version. I mean, it's not dumb, but it's got no smarts, though it is identical. So it comes in this box right here. It's pretty straightforward. If you crack it open, there's a space for it, a plastic bag in there, and then there is two pieces of paper, literally just two pieces of paper. One that has some steps on how you should position it, and then the second one is a warranty card in case you somehow manage to break it. What it is, though, is you put your bicycle wheel on it like this, so it's like an arrow facing forward, and then you go ahead and it allows you to turn your bicycle back and forth. But more importantly, it recenters your wheel. Now, you may remember last summer, at the exact same day that Elite announced this, Zwift announced steering for their platform. And so that allowed you to go ahead on certain courses, well, just one course really at the time, mountain bike course, you could steer your way through it, kind of gamifying it a bit more. And it's a bit of a test, obviously, for the technology and how it works. And you used a phone on your handlebars to be able to pull that off. And that all was great. But the problem is you still had to find a way to steer your front wheel. In other words, keep your wheel like balanced and centered. And people came up with kind of crazy contraptions to do that, putting like spinner plates down there. You put a little piece of wood down there. None of them were ideal though, because then your handlebars were always offset. So this recenters it back each time. As you can see, it's not too hard to move there. And depending on the camera, you might be able to see it. There we go, right there. The little wheels that are underneath it. So as I go like this, it's got just a little bit of float there, not much, but just enough so that it gives you kind of a little bit of press on force, and it moves back and forth. And this is true whether you're mountain biking or road biking. And this is all there is to it. On the bottom, what you will notice though, is that there is this battery compartment right here. It's locked up, but battery compartment. Now, of course, this is not the smart version. So what's that for? Well, it's cheaper for Elite to simply make these all identical, minus a little bit of electronic chipset stuff that isn't in this base one right here, than it is to go ahead and have two completely different models. And that makes sense. We see that in many other areas. So again, this one has no electronics in it, but the other one, whenever it comes, will obviously have electronics in it. So now you may be thinking, what if I don't want to steer? Well, that's actually fine. So there's kind of two general cases for this product. There's one that you just want to use it without actually doing steering in-game, whatever the game may be. In that case, it's mostly going to provide just a little bit of movement side to side to make your ride feel more realistic. And you'll see that as I'm pedaling along, for example, my road bike, there's just this very slight that you're going to get, as you, for each pedal stroke, left and right, and you're going to see that accented into the handlebars as well. And it feels more natural. Is it worth $69 for just that? Probably not. But it's nice feeling, so I can't complain there. The second piece then is for apps that will support steering. In the case of Zwift today, that's just the mountain bike course and just using your phone. But down the road, that's going to change. The CEO of Zwift, Eric Min, was pretty open about that in a group ride that he did back in November, I think on Thanksgiving actually, where he said that we're going to see that platform move forward to the next steps. And what those steps are remains to be seen. I don't think we're going to go to the direction of something like CV Arcade, where you can crash your bike and it changes the entire dynamic of the game significantly. But I could see something like veering, where you're going to find a more optimal line while road racing or whatever it may be within Zwift. And in those scenarios, having some technology that allows you to go ahead and do that steering more easily makes a lot of sense. Okay, and a quick note, if you're finding this review interesting or useful, go ahead and just whack that like button right now. It really helps with the video quite a bit. Now, in terms of setup, it's honestly pretty straightforward. You want to go ahead and basically follow these instructions there. There's only really two things you have to worry about. One is that you've got to point to the correct direction, so it makes like a forward V sort of thing. And then two is that you've got it centered here like this, so that the center of your wheel, in other words, the hub in the middle of the wheel is directly on the center of this, both front and back. And then of course, side to side, you're in that groove. I didn't have any issues with my mountain bike or my road bike. That all worked just fine. Okay, so here we go at the turn off right here, using Mirror the Mountain as the course. And in this case, it's gonna go off to the right. And what will happen is that once I get to the trailhead right up there, it'll go ahead and ask me, or actually, at first it'll ask me to confirm that I want to do the mountain bike course again. And then, so there we go right there. We'll choose let's go. And then it'll ask me to confirm that I've got my phone on my handlebars. I'm using the quad lock mount in case. That's what I use for my day-to-day life. So that's what I got here. We'll click start there. You do need to ensure that you have a phone on your handlebars, otherwise it just simply won't work. And you'll see right away in the lower left-hand corner there, there's steering sensitivity. So if you find it's too sensitive, you can turn that sensitivity up or down, depending on what your preferences are. I find in general things, you know, if you haven't done it in a while, it'll feel too sensitive, and then you'll kind of get used to it. So just kind of keep that in mind. There we go. And you can see having the plate sort of helps to keep things just automatically centering back again. Oops, missed a little bit there in the corner. You also know, by the way, that it switched me over to a mountain bike nonetheless. So it does convert your bike into a mountain bike once you get on this segment here. Little correction there, but all good. And because it is still using my smart trainer here, resistance and all that's happening automatically, so I feel these little rollers and whatnot. So, you know, overall this isn't that much different than without the Sterzo. The difference though is just that the entire like stability of your floor down there, your front wheel, simply feels a lot better. The fact that it goes back to center each time is kind of nice. So watch here, I'll try to find a good spot to do this. Once I come out of this turn here, I'll just let go of the handlebars and you'll see it'll go back to center like that because of the fact that the wheel has the little rollers on it. So, you know, in scenario like mountain biking, it probably doesn't matter as much. Where it'll matter is out in typical road ride type scenarios where you may want to just very, very finite little adjustments to keep within a group or a peloton, whatever it may be, or get next to someone. Things that aren't yet in Zwift today, that maybe they're down the road. So let's go ahead and switch over to the mountain bike real quick here, and I'll show you what that's like. Okay, just like a pro rider bike swap there, I'm good to go. Here we go, repair it up to the KICKR, which is probably a good point. There's no dependency on this steering plate on any given trainer. There is a dependency on me paying attention to where I'm going on the route right here, as you can see, but you can use it with any trainer you want. Not one of the smart bikes though, because those don't actually touch the ground. And here, I find that for the mountain bike, it's too sensitive. It's just too tricky. So what I'm gonna do is use a remote here, grab it off my one back there, and adjust the sensitivity to steering sensitivity. And I have found that typically for me on this mountain bike, like 30 to 40% is about right. And that's where I can go ahead and get a little bit better sensitivity there. Let me just center the bars one more time. Now you can see even if I do some standing action here, I did a sprint earlier on the road bike and there's no impact. Like I can still steer just fine because the plate and steering, all that, isn't dependent on significant body weight. It's just dependent on a little bit of weight to keep the wheel going the correct direction there. Now, ultimately, you're going to have to play with the steering sensitivity you like for your given bike. You can see how there's a difference in the bikes, and I just switched over to this, of course. So this even is still a little sensitive for me. I was doing better earlier today on it, but I'd done the course about 4 times already. Whereas right now, not so hot. It says it was okay though, so I guess that was just a shortcut. And I can tell you a little bit of a trick. You can actually flip this around. It's not recommended, but I did one run with it backwards, and you know, in terms of like steering sensitivity, that actually dulls it down a little bit. So it's not quite as responsive at kicking back. It works fine until you let go of the handlebars, and then it doesn't seem to kick back as fast anymore. But In terms of reducing that sensitivity, that's one option you do have there. And we'll just put the pizza the other direction. It's tricky switching back from road bike to this because your hands are so much further apart that you're used to the certain amount of change and shift that you need on the road bike bars, which are out here, compared to the much, much wider mountain bike handlebars. Okay, so with that, let's get back to the desk and talk to things a little bit more. Okay, so there you go, a complete look at both of those scenarios. Remember though, I think for most people today, it's just a little bit of that extra kind of more realistic movement to the front end of your bicycle indoors, more than necessarily steering or veering. As I saw on both of those courses when I did them, there was no one else out there trying out the steering course on both of those times that I recorded anyways. Just nobody else was there. So it's not something people are really excited about in the mountain biking sense. Maybe we'll see though more excitement in the road racing side once Zwift enables something in that realm to go ahead and allow you to use technology like this in conjunction with your phone, or actual steering in different devices down the road to be able to kind of up that experience. And again, how that happens, we'll have to see. Anyways, hope we found this interesting or useful or something. If so, go ahead and whack that like button at the bottom there, or hit the subscribe button for more sports technology goodness. With that, have a good one.